I'm afraid this time we're going to have to stop viewing Somalia through the eyes of these conflicts and, you know, the image of the piracy, and come to the assistance of millions of people who need help badly, seriously. Otherwise, we might end up regretting it when hundreds, you know, or thousands of children and the weak ones begin to die in about 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. They need medication and food. We've made an appeal. While making this appeal to the international community, I'm also making the appeal, and we've done so to the African governments. They're preparing, you know, to provide whatever assistance they can. But I'm sure those of you in the US, in Europe, have the necessary technology and the transportation and the means to fly in as quickly as possible, earlier than most other countries can.
But Mr. Rawlings, you'd accept that it's not simply a question of just flying.
Hello?
Hello, if you can hear me, we seem to be having some technical problems, but you'd accept that it's not simply a case of just flying in to come to the aid of the Somalis, even if people wanted to. Bear in mind that we have the reality of Al-Shabaab on the ground, and that is an unknown quantity.
Yeah, I know. The Al-Shabaab elements are, you know, conducting themselves in a more responsible way this time. I mean, that's the promise they've made, and I believe one of the UN agencies have had access to some of the hungry people in their areas of control. And quite frankly, we do not want to see a repeat of the irresponsibility and the indiscipline that led to America's intervention, you know, 2 decades or so ago. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing to anyone who think they're fighting for their people. And as a result of that, I think they've sort of pulled off and are very much on the defensive and are demonstrating a more responsible, you know, attitude towards some of the agencies that would want to provide help.
So, Mr. Rawlings,
please don't let that stand in your way.
Mr. Rawlings,
in terms of those who have been still combative, let me assure you, the African troops, the AMISOM, are dealing with that. So Mogadishu is almost a safe area now. Yes, go ahead.
Talk to me about your conversations with the transitional leadership, the political establishment there in Mogadishu, and what they said to you about their needs in dealing with this situation.
Well, what they're saying about their needs is no different than what I'm saying, honestly. I'm only adding my voice to their call as well. But, you know, some or most of them don't speak English. I mean, the president, etc. Of course, he's been using interpreters. We met the press yesterday where he put these concerns across. He's been able to put his cabinet together. That will be put before Parliament. I believe these are some of the concerns that the American government is waiting to hear about. So let's assure them that the transitional government is doing what it can, a more serious sense of responsibility this time, and I think we should also give them their due. Yes.
And let me ask you this, because you have been to some of these internally displaced camps there in Mogadishu. You've been able to see the stuff firsthand. Describe for me what stood out for you as you went around these centres. Talk to me about what you saw. Bring that home to our viewers.
Yeah, Aisha, it's the same old heart-rending situation that we used to see 20 years ago. You know, when the senior President Bush and the world couldn't take it anymore and decided, you know, to fly in aid. That's when some of these extremists started misbehaving, and Bush had no choice but to send in his troops to do what he could. We're back to the same situation, you know, where a 5-year-old kid, in fact, I'm not even sure whether he was a boy or girl, looks like a 1.5-year-old child. I'm just talking about the cumulative degree of malnutrition, you know, that they've been caught up in over the last 2 years of famine, hardly any rain, and in the 3rd year running, no rain, and now we're saddled with the consequences of it, you know? And can you imagine some of these women, you know, with 4 children, 5 children, trekking through wherever they've come from, 200 and something kilometers. How long did it take you? 6 days, etc. But it's, and yet when you look at the resilience, the fortitude, the strength in these mothers, you know, holding onto these feeble, fragile children. As sorry as you feel for them, you cannot help but also admire, you know, their sense of courage and determination. I mean, let's do what we can.
You're clearly moved by what you saw. These are very, very difficult times for so many people there, particularly in the southern parts of Somalia, where the UN has already declared it a famine, and there in Mogadishu, where you are, where you have seen firsthand the suffering that has been going on for decades and has just been exacerbated by these conditions now on the ground, this famine and this drought.